Something else that we're dealing with here, not only locally, but across the country, is small businesses and the impact COVID-19 has had on them. We have had just a roller coaster of a ride this past what, year and a half since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Y'all know my business, my husband's business, our business, we own a gym. Not only were we deemed non-essential for months last year, we were deemed a COVID hotspot. The government scared people from going to the gym because gyms were, I think, from 1 to 10, it was at a 10 on the places where you can catch COVID the most. Little did we know what we know now is that continuing and encouraging people to go work out, because a lot of people who get COVID-19 severely are obese, have diabetes, are unhealthy. So instead of encouraging people, go get vitamin D, a lot of them are also vitamin D deficient, go lose weight, go work out. No, we were told to coop up and gain more weight. But anyway, all that to say that businesses have had a very tough time. From that to also other businesses not being able to find employees. They've raised their wages, they've given great incentives, but they still cannot find those positions. To now businesses fear losing employees and maybe even customers amid the vaccine requirement. A new record of small businesses nationwide are having trouble filing or filling positions now with President Biden's new vaccine mandate for companies, and these owners face a new burden. Joining me on News Talk 710 KURV is Joel Patterson. He is a workplace expert. Joel, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Now, we're a small business owners, my husband and I, and luckily we don't have lots of employees. We just have 2, including, 3 with my husband, 3 trainers, and we're not dealing with what other businesses are when it comes to the vaccine mandates and all that stuff. So give us, I guess, a quick update on what you know when it comes to what small business owners are going through right now.
Sure. Great to be here, Roxanne. And by the way, your gym situation is a personal pet peeve of mine. I never could understand why, because the gym that I worked out at closed down, obviously, for a while. And I never understood why you would be put in the same category as people that are drinking and yelling at each other and everything. It didn't make sense. I'm going there to be healthier. It's backwards. But a lot of what we're seeing in business these days is backwards as well. And what you're referring to is going on in just about every industry. Some people call it the Great Resignation. I've heard it called the Great Wait now. But it's really this kind of narrowing down of availability of resources in the job market right now. It's very tight out there, and it's not just the service industry. It's industries, tech, anything kind of tech-based, medical, any of these kind of industries that are doing really well. They're finding that they can't necessarily recruit the people that they want, and then more importantly, it's very difficult to retain them. And when you go into that situation, knowing that it's already going to be difficult, and then you're asked to enforce whether or not people are vaccinated, and then actually be penalized. Who knows how much that will be and how they'll even enforce it, but to risk having a financial impact to enforce something that really has nothing to do with your business is a little bit of a tough pill to swallow for the business community.
Yeah. What then should some businesses do, Joel? Because I know it's tough. I mean, like you heard me say, luckily with us, we only have, including my husband, it's 3 trainers, and we don't have to force them to get vaccinated or none. Luckily, no one now wears a mask at our gym because you try doing a HIIT session or burpees or double presses with a mask on. I mean, it's just not fun. So we don't make people wear masks at the gym. To me, that's torture. But not only are our businesses trying so hard to fill those positions, but now they're faced with the other thing with COVID. Hey, are you vaccinated? And if not, will you get? And then that's just kind of like that question you don't want to ask. So would there be any tips to give small business owners on how to kind of cope with what is happening?
Well, I think fortunately, the line at this point is anybody that's got more than 100 employees. So a lot of small businesses are not going to have to worry about that at the enforcement of this. But I can also see companies that are maybe just over that mark or even quite a bit larger really trying to find loopholes and ways to get out of this because, again, no matter what I feel about the vaccine, and I'm vaccinated and I've encouraged all of our employees to get vaccinated as well, but to ask me or expect me to tell our employees that they have to do something and put something in their body is just it's just not a comfortable situation, and really hope that we don't have to make these decisions. But ultimately, it's going to come down to what is the policy, what does OSHA come up with. I mean, OSHA doesn't necessarily have the best reputation for implementing efficient solutions, so I'm a little nervous about that. How are they going to actually enforce a penalty, and what is that penalty going to be? Who's responsible for it? Because there's a lot of downstream impacts here too that you may not consider. If somebody chooses not to be vaccinated, yet we have to accommodate them their weekly test, not just the cost associated with the test, but also the time it takes for them to reschedule everything else they've got going on. It's just it kind of filters down from there. So it's too soon to know exactly what we're going to do, but I can tell you there's going to be a lot of states are already planning their lawsuits. It's going to be quite a while before they're going to be able to implement something like this. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of details shake out.
Do you know, I know you brought up right now the testing. That's the other option that was given. Either you get vaccinated or you get tested weekly. And it's crazy because the vaccines are free, but the tests cost a lot of money. And having to test multiple employees weekly, I'm sure that'll add up. Do you know if the company has to pay for these tests, if the individual, the employee does, if the government's kind of giving them some money to pay for all that? Do you know about that?
Well, the government seems to have a lot of money these days, so I'm going to assume that they're probably going to pay for it.
A lot of our money, you mean?
Yeah. Well, they can write big checks these days, and this will probably be another one. I'm assuming they're going to cover the expense of the actual test just in order to up the compliance numbers, but it's really from the business perspective, it's not even about the test itself. It's unnecessary disruption to the normal flow of your business, and anything that does that, anybody that pays attention to what's going on day to day in their business is always looking to remove those kind of obstacles. And you're creating things that are going to slow people down, and that's never good for anybody that takes pride in what they do.
Joining me on 710 KURV is Joel Patterson. He is a workplace expert. I'm reading here, Joel, that you head up the Vested Group, a firm that is always on the best places to work list. I don't know if you guys have been dealing with this, but the employee retention, have you experienced employees quitting because they either have to get vaccinated or because they want people to get vaccinated and others have anything along those lines?
Nothing on those lines yet. We have chosen to really just allow people to make their own decisions when it comes to that. We do all the things we're supposed to do around the office, but we really want people to be able to do what they need to do. We have done a survey, and we're about 74% that are vaccinated, so we're kind of right in line with what's going on in America. Mm-hmm. Our issues have really been more tied to what's going on in the general business sector right now with just the strain on labor. And people, lots of people getting into new industries there's been money kind of built up on the sidelines, and they're just aching to spend it. And they start spending money on people and paying salaries and making offers that are not rational or normal. And that creates a lot of chaos as well. And that's happening in just about every industry. You'll hear people talk about huge signing bonuses and salaries they probably don't deserve yet. Yeah. But, that's kind of the sign of the times, and it's difficult to navigate.
Yeah, I was speaking to a financial strategist last hour from Ohio, and he was telling me that he knows a McDonald's franchise owner that is paying $14.50 an hour and also giving them, I think, a $250 signing bonus. I don't know where you live. I think you're here in Texas, but that's almost $15 an hour at McDonald's. That's a lot of money. And then you have other companies raising wages, giving bonuses, and you're right. Probably, it's just trying to incentivize people to come work at their jobs. But once things kind of settle down and they're not going to get as much as, I guess, where they were promised, I don't know. There is just a lot of unknowns, Joel. Before we go, is there anything else you would like to let our listeners or our business owners know about just what to do in this whole pandemic world that we're living in?
I would tell you that, taking care of your employees is always good for business. And over the last year and a half, when you go back to social justice, obviously the pandemic, the election, there has just been some crazy situations that have happened over the last year and a half, and I would really kind of remind business owners out there to think about your HR department, because those people have really been run through the ringer this year, and they don't really get to think about it a lot, or they don't get that kind of credit. but also just take care of your people, and be honest and communicate, and make sure you just say, hey, I don't know, because these days that's okay. None of us really know what's going to happen. And I think your people will respect you a lot more if you say, hey, I don't know right now, but I'm going to go figure it out.
Yep, that's very true. Joel, thank you so much for joining me. That is Joel Patterson. He is a workplace expert, my guest on News Talk 710 KURV.